briefly discuss the musical alphabet. Also, one thing to note is that there's sharps and flats between the natural notes, but there are two sets of natural notes that don't have a sharp and flat between them, and that would be between the E and the F, and also between the B and the C. There's no B sharp or C flat. Well, technically there is when you get into theory. A C flat is actually a B, but we won't go into that for our purposes. There's no sharps or flat between B and C and E and F. Other than that, all the other letters of the alphabet have sharps and flats between them. Now that we've learned the musical alphabet, we will delve into the realm of what is called scales. A musical scale is a set of tones or notes, each having a definitive pitch starting with a tonal center or a root. What I mean by that is a C scale will start with the note of C or the letter C. So a B flat scale will start with B flat naturally. And these scales, they move in specific intervals from low to high or from high to low. And we're going to get into the patterns associated with making those in just a minute. Remember what we call these metal strips on the neck of the bass? You guessed it, frets. So the distance between two frets is called a half step. Or a semitone. And the distance between two frets is called that's right, a whole step or a tone. Now, the way that you can think about that is, remember the old yellow pages, let your fingers do the walking? A full step will be boom, boom. That's a full step, right? Take a step, one step forward. That's half step. Boom, that's a whole step. Think about it like that. So the distance is your fingers are walking up and down the bass is half step, whole step, or half a semitone and a full tone. And the way you make up a major scale pattern is you move from the root. In this case, we'll use C. We'll move in this pattern. A whole step, then another whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, a whole step, a half step, and then we arrive at the octave, which is the same note played higher. Find our way down the neck. We're going to start at the C on our B string, and we're going to go from C, a whole step to D. Then we're going to go a whole step to E. We're going to move a half step to F, a whole step to G, a whole step to A, and guess what? A whole step to B. It'll be a pain in the neck to, literally, it'll be a pain in the neck to move up and down the neck like that, trying to play our scale. So, thankfully, the bass gives us a different way of playing the scale, and we'll move down to this C right here so you can get a better understanding of how we play a major scale. Again, go to the website. The scale pattern is out there in the graphic. And this whole thing that I'm speaking of right now is written up so that you can study it out. But at any rate, we go from C to D. Now, instead of going here to E, we'll move up one string to the E there. So we go C, D, E, and watch this. Remember, is there a sharp or flat between E and F? No, there's not. F, G, A, B, sharp, no sharp or flat between the B and the C. C. The C major scale is a scale that has no sharps or flats associated with it. So again, it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, get in the habit of also singing or humming the scales as you go through them, and that'll help your ear get trained to be able to know what these tones are. Again, I want to introduce the concept of intervals as well as we're doing this, or scale degrees. The C is the 1 scale degree, or the first. The D is the 2, E3, F4, G5, 6 is A, 7 is B, C octave, which could be 8, but no one calls it 8, 1. And we go back the other way. Talk about a scale pattern. The beautiful thing about the bass is I could play that pattern in the key of C, or I can move up to the F, or down to the F rather, and I can play that same major scale pattern, and it just works. So now we got F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. Oh Lord, that sounded bad. I'm sorry. I get kind of distracted when I try to look at the camera, take my eyes off the bass, and I flip out. Okay. Much better. And the pattern works. So that's the F major scale. So now we've learned the musical alphabet. We've learned the major scale pattern. I want you to begin to practice playing the major scale. Once you've committed this major scale of memory, we're going much like the major scale. The minor scale has a specific pattern. Instead of going in the same pattern, the minor scale goes from the root, and you move a whole step, then a half step, then a whole step, another whole step, and a half step. A whole step, and then you're at the octave. So now I'll start the root with this finger right here. Begin to play those patterns next to each other, the major and the minor. Notice with the major, I started with the index finger here to make it more comfortable for me to play. How that sounds? Now move it. I missed. Twice I missed notes. Different mode, but we'll get to talk about modes later. But the major scale tends to sound happy and bright. The minor scale tends to sound sad. Now, how do they differ? Well, with the major scale, we just move in those intervals. Now, the minor scale is actually built upon the major scale. So we tend to flat and sharpen notes. So what's the difference? Go to the website. I have a graphics that shows them right next to each other, side by side, where you can differentiate what the differences are. But for intents and purposes of this lesson, what we do is we flat the third. Flat the sixth. Instead of the sixth being up here, it's down there. Instead of the third being up here, it's down there. And then we flat the seventh. Instead of 7 being here, it's flatted, and then we have the octave. Now practice the minor scale just like you practice the major scale. And once you get those two scales under your, or that scale with the mode, which is a minor, is also called the Aeolian mode. Once you get those under your hands, we're going to move into some different modes. And most Western music will be based